All right, Mr. Chair.
All right, are we good to go?
Yes, we're good to go.
All right, thank you community members for bearing with us. Thanks to those who participated in the community meeting and taking the time to speak to us through this virtual platform. We always appreciate your feedback, and I want to thank you for bearing with us while we navigate this platform. As I mentioned earlier, today this is a formal official meeting of the Atlanta Board of Education, and I appreciate everyone's patience as we explore this new way of meeting. I am sure many of us have had opportunities to use Zoom and Skype and Google Hangouts before. It is likely we will have to continue to use these platforms in the future to handle the board's business. At this time, we are moving into the legislative portion of today's meeting. Before I ask Dr. Castarfin to provide her own remarks, I want to do a few things, a few announcements, a few shout outs. The first is to again thank the APS team led by Dr. Castarfin for their work. These are unprecedented times that we live in with this COVID-19 crisis, and the employees of this district have stepped up to the occasion. And on behalf of the Atlanta Board of Education, I thank each and every one of you. I also want to shout out our principals. So last Friday was National School Principals Day. We are appreciative of our principals all year long in every year, but I don't think we can thank them enough during the school year, especially after this COVID-19 pandemic turned their school years upside down. Our principals have remained in the front lines, not only as academic leaders, but as good stewards of our school buildings and our communities. So I want to thank our principals and shout them out for being amazing leaders, and give them a round of applause, a virtual round of applause, since we're not there in person to congratulate them. And another group who stepped up and literally, sorry, I was watching the screen and something happened, and literally stepped up within hours is our group of teachers. It happened that today is the start of National Teacher Appreciation Week, which you could see from Cynthia Briscoe Brown's background, is a time for us to appreciate the work of our teachers. The district has a whole series of fun activities planned, which Dr. Castarfin will outline in her remarks. But the board and I wanted to extend our own thanks to our teachers for exhibiting the energy, the devotion, and an unrivaled grace under pressure amid such unfamiliar times created by COVID-19. We really cannot thank y'all enough for all of the work you have done. So on behalf of the board, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's give them a round of applause through this awkward Zoom meeting. Next, for the 35th year, the month of April has been designated as National School Library Month by the American Association of School Librarians. The month recognizes the contributions of our school-based media centers in providing the materials and resources for teachers and students that encourages growth and knowledge. Our libraries serve as a critical component in not only teaching literacy and research across our district, but they go a long way in encouraging lifelong learning and free expression in our students. They are also an amazing resource, even during this period of closure, available to every single student. Atlanta Public Schools has 54 media specialists across the district, and I want to thank each and every one of them for doing their part to provide our students the resources they need as we finish the school year through teleschooling. The first day of April was Paraprofessional Appreciation Day. We simply cannot say enough about the vital work in assisting our teachers that our paraprofessionals do. During this period of teleschooling, they have helped teachers create one-to-one interaction with their students and they have remotely assisted students with assignments, reading, and they have performed valuable work inside and outside the classroom. Our parapros are wonderful people who are among those in APS living the mission each and every day to graduate our students ready for college and career. Thank you for your service and your dedication to APS. We could not handle this closure without you. At Atlanta Public Schools, we have made early learning a key priority over the past several years. The National Association for the Education of Young Children marked the week of April 10th through the 17th for the celebration of the Week of the Young Child. Atlanta has taken strong steps to celebrate young children with the commitment to the PACT, the promise that all Atlanta's children thrive. The PACT report includes a set of recommendations, targeted recommendations, and is the next step in our city's work to build a robust early learning ecosystem that will help us make Atlanta the best place to raise a family. We look forward to working as a school system with partners across the city to help bring this promise to life all year long. Also during April, the district recognized Earth Day, which occurred on April 22nd. Although we were teleschooling and teleworking on that day, many of our teachers incorporated lessons about the environment to coincide with Earth Day. We must also recognize our school nurses who have had their own day as well on Wednesday, or will have their own day on Wednesday, May 6th. National School Nurse Day is celebrated within National Nurse Week and was established to foster a better understanding of the role of school nurses in the educational setting. This year's theme could hardly be more fitting: supporting students in times of crisis. Our nurses have been at the front lines of the pandemic and have been crucial in ensuring that the district's food distribution network is conducted safely. They were at every distribution site checking temperatures, ensuring good hygiene practices and site conditions to ensure APS was doing food right. Our own nurse, Dr. Valencia Hildreth, has been at the forefront every day as part of the district's COVID-19 response task force. Thanks to Dr. Hildreth and all of our nurses for stepping up to the call. Let's hear some applause for our nurses, our school nurses. I want to highlight that National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day, which is observed each year on May 9th to raise awareness about the importance of children's mental health and how vital positive mental health is to a child's development, is coming up. During times of crisis like COVID-19, we all really need to become aware of how our children's mental health is being affected by this crisis. Next week, from May 10th through May 17th, is National Charter Schools Week. APS is home to 18 locally approved startup charters and will add its 19th KIPP Soul Academy next school year. APS charter schools have shown strong academic growth for students, and 3 different APS charter schools have been named Georgia's Charter School of the Year over the past few years. During this week, we honor our charter schools for demonstrating a spirit of collaboration to help ensure positive outcomes for our students. At this time, I want to announce that amid school closures and social distancing, the Atlanta School Board will hold its annual special board meeting for APS student recognitions, as it has for the past 5 years. In past years, we would invite hundreds of accomplished students and their families to the Alonzo Krim Center of Learning and Leadership for their special recognition, so we could shake their hands and personally hand them a resolution. We are, as you know, in unprecedented times, so we are going to take those recognitions online. We are not going to let this pandemic keep us from honoring more than 300 students who deserve recognition. Therefore, APS is producing a special 2020 Student Recognition celebratory webpage that includes video messages from Dr. Christarfin and myself. And this webpage will list every award category and the names of every student who have won in each category. In addition, Dr. Christarfin will read each winning student's names on video for each award category. We will let you know when the webpage will go live as a way of celebrating this year's winners. Congratulations to the folks who will be celebrated next week, and we look forward to your continued success in Atlanta Public Schools and beyond. Finally, I wanted to remind everyone that we are amid the official public process for the finalists for the next APS superintendent. We recently announced that Dr. Lisa Herring, current superintendent for Birmingham City Schools in Alabama, is the sole finalist for APS superintendent. A native of Macon, Georgia, Dr. Herring brings more than 25 years of education experience to APS, which included work as Chief Academic Officer for Jefferson County and Louisville, Kentucky, Deputy Superintendent of Academics for Charleston County Schools in South Carolina, and leadership roles in other districts, and including several years as a middle school counselor and teacher. When she earned her bachelor's degree at Spelman College, she also got a connection with APS, where she completed her education of observational work at our very own Therrell High School. Her full bio, the announcement, and other interviews that have been recorded over the past week and a half are available at the board superintendent search page. In compliance with Georgia law, the board must wait a minimum of 14 days between announcing a final candidate for the position of superintendent, which we did on Tuesday, April 21st, and making the official appointment. The board plans on extending that time period an additional week and plans to vote on the sole finalist at its next meeting on its next meeting next week, a special called meeting that will take place on Monday, May 11th at 5 p.m. I want to assure everyone that there will be a transition period. Dr. Herring does not start until July 1st, and Dr. Christarfin is the superintendent between now and June 30th. We will be using this time to ensure a continuity of services and a transition of knowledge and information to ensure that Dr. Herring hits the ground running come July 1st. If you would like to engage with Dr. Herring this week, community members will have multiple opportunities to do that through virtual town halls. Please check the board's website for more information and make sure to click on Superintendent Search. Questions may be submitted through the following channels. You can email Atlanta Board at atlanta.k12.ga.us. You can call us at 404-802-2267, or you can submit a question through Let's Talk by visiting the APS website and clicking on the website on the Let's Talk button and selecting Superintendent Search. With that, that was all a mouthful and a lot. I spit 2 months of announcements into 1 month, so apologies for being long-winded. But with that, I will now invite Dr. Christarfin to make her own remarks.
Good evening, everyone. We have indeed been living through an interesting and unprecedented times. We spent nearly 2 months teleschooling and teleworking. It's been challenging and sometimes daunting, overwhelming, but also I've seen some inspiring work. I'm going to talk a little bit about that because I can't thank our students, our families, our teachers, our entire team, and the Atlanta community enough for continuing to work through these difficult moments as we've taken on the almost overnight challenge of virtual learning. And it's actually more than that. We've seen, or our lessons in this has been that it's beyond our academic mission. I mean, APS has been charged with basically providing the largest food network for families and poor families across the city, and even if people come from any of the metro area. Our health services have been expanded to help anyone in the community, and other wraparound supports have also been expanded to support those in need. We're now pushing for the universal right to connectivity because we see that it is a divide for our kids to be able to have access to education and opportunities even within APS, but even more so because we're seeing their families during the time of coronavirus actually lose out on opportunities because they can't telework and don't have access to those tools because of connectivity. So every day we're striving not only to end the school year, but to also make it possible that the impact of Atlanta Public Schools is continuing to make the city of Atlanta and the future of Atlanta better. I pledge to continue to do my work, continue to work every day, and to ensure that we're doing the job that our taxpayers expect us to do and our community needs us to do as a school system, but especially during COVID-19. I recently wrote to the class of 2020, the graduating class, the seniors who don't get to have a prom, who don't get to have a graduation in person, who don't get to live their final year of schooling in any kind of normal way. And what it actually has revealed is that while even earlier in our work session, we talked about our disparity in contracting for minority and women businesses, but we've absolutely seen head on that not only have these disparities and inequities always existed, but they have been exacerbated by the virus. So we've seen schools take on a bigger role than academics. The feeding of our families amid the pandemic, that health and wraparound support, but it's actually been closed in part because our partners have really stepped up, even people who weren't typically going to support public school systems or the work that we were doing. They've stepped up and helped us do everything from provide more food to more families on our buses and distribution sites. They've even gone a step further and close our digital divide by paying for connectivity and devices for students and their families to be able to keep, even if they don't go to Atlanta Public Schools for the long run. So the virtual learning piece has been huge. And without our partners, many of these issues would not have been accelerated for us to be able to address. So internet access, we'd like to see it get addressed for Atlanta Public Schools. If the scientists are right, if the virus continues to be the virus that it has been known to be, which is unpredictable and many aspects of it unknown to how it will behave, throughout the various seasons, and coupled with flu season, they're saying that it's going to be worse. We really do have to get the connectivity piece sorted out for the city of Atlanta, at least for its public school systems and higher ed institutions, to a level that allows our kids to have access to connectivity the same way they might have access to clean water or heat in the winter. And we know that there are disparities there in the first place. So it's a lot of work, and you'll be hearing more about that as we continue to work through the school year. We are looking for partners, those who are willing to help us figure out how to cast a net at minimum over South Atlanta, where we're seeing the grossest disparities in connectivity, and also in healthcare and support for things like gloves, masks, and other protective gear that would help our communities, especially African American and poor communities, protect themselves against the virus. So it's not time for us to go back to a regular routine, but we are trying to. And this board meeting is just one small example of that. But we've been doing it as much as we can, as often as we can, to bring some rhythm back to the school year. And I want everyone to know that while things continue to look more crippling and difficult, and I'll talk a little bit about the budget situation, our leadership team is staying true to the mission for children in Atlanta. We are going to work hard, and we're going to ensure that we do everything we can to end this school year well and protect APS for the start of the next school year for a great start, but also in its immediate future. So for our presentations in the work session, you will have heard from Angela King-Smith, the Chief Engagement Officer, and Erica Long, our Senior Advisor for Policy and Government Affairs. They did give the equity update, mostly about the superintendent's equity task force, which is set by policy by the board. And we have been working and talking a lot about the inequities created by COVID-19, but also thinking to the future about how this might impact the rest of our work in the district and what that means for our community. We talked a bit about how that's going to be aligned to the new strategic plan, and also the work as it relates to the disparity study related to contracts and ensuring that more minority and women businesses have access to contracts in Atlanta Public Schools. Now, with their presentation, we went a little further to include some of our leadership team, internal staff members in the administration, to do an internal task force to help us complete the equity plan for the district. And while technically by policy, there isn't a first year presentation for that until the fall, we have been doing a lot of work and have been presenting that over this current school year and have accelerated that work, knowing that the COVID-19 virus is only going to exacerbate those issues for our school community. So the more we do and the faster we do it, the better it will be for the families that are most disenfranchised. Next, Carolyn Burnett, the Director of Charter System and School Governance, provided a review of our charter system framework, which includes updates on our GO teams and school-based leadership teams. And that's critical because those GO teams are people who are supposed to be working hand in hand with our principals to ensure that we are able to have tight budgets approved and recommended to the administration so that can roll up for board action. And that's to get really tough really fast. One, we're still virtual and we're still not together in person. So we're trying to figure out how we'll do this $60 million budget reduction strategy while people are not able to come together in normal ways. So the next month, from now until June 1st, when the board has its next regular meeting, we'll be working on that budget reduction strategy. And that kind of rolls into what Dr. Smith was talking about in the next to last present, that Sky Duckett, the Chief Human Resources Officer for Talent Management, and Dr. King, who was talking about our culture initiative, kind of worked into the district's issues as it relates to recruiting, hiring, retention, and supports to keep the very best educators in the classroom, and certainly running our schools and our departments. But we want to be really careful that while we're still doing our regular strategic plan work, wrapping up the strategic plan, getting ready for the next strategic plan, that the district does keep an eye on, a very careful eye on, how all of this is playing out on our people. This is an organization of people. It's a lot of people working with little people, trying to make the little people better when they're big people, but it's a lot of direct touch to folks. And so when we think about what Lisa Bracken talked about in her Chief Financial Officer presentation about the fiscal year 2020 general fund update, good news, it's still strong because we collected most of our taxes already and we can finish the school year without a lot of hiccup. But it was really in the tentative recommendations for the adoption of fiscal year 2021 that is going to put a lot of pressure on both the talent management strategy and the culture. And while the good news was that in 2014, when we first started all of our work in the district around culture improvement with our staff, addressing some of the ugly underbelly of what APS was dealing with in the aftermath of the cheating scandal, we found that many employees were just very disengaged and very disgruntled, especially as it related to pay parity and a lot of other issues about their working environment. But over the last 6 years, I mean, we really have seen a lot of lift. The good news is that, we saw statistically significant movement in our grand mean when we looked at all 12 work groups and engagement. In other words, people are coming to work more, they are happier in work, they are complaining less about their work environments, and are basically doing a better teamwork and trying to do their part to lift the district. And so, when we look at that compared to 6 years ago, we are now scoring above the national average for engagement and engaged employees. And we also saw improvements and increases on all 12 elements of our engagement survey compared to last year. And we want to keep that. That's the big thing, right? We want people to stay with APS, stay committed, stay believing, hoping that this district will continue to grow and be good to them and for children. So when the CFO talked about our budget, there were some things that are quite sobering. But first, I'll just talk about the logistics. Like I said, we're postponing our first big action until June. And that's because, we don't have any clear revenue projections, mostly due to COVID-19, and the legislature is not going to be going back into session this month. So there's a lot that we just don't know. But our first public hearing for the budget will have to happen at the same time that we're presenting our first concept around the budget. So there's a lot that's going to get squeezed in. So we're asking everyone to please be patient with us and to allow an already challenging process to be carefully worked through. Because as soon as we finish that regularly scheduled board meeting on June 1st, we'll have to turn around and schedule a special call meeting for the first adoption of the budget, and then a second public hearing at least 2 weeks from there. So it's going to be hot and fast. It's June 1st, then it's mid-June, you have June 22nd. So a lot of budget will be happening, and a lot of pressure between now and then will have to take place, because those 4 regular regional meetings where we used to go out in the public is going to be condensed to 2 virtual ones. And then the millage timeline still has to be determined. But if the preliminary digest is received in May, we may be able to align the adoption of the millage with the first adoption of the budget. Again, we just don't know, because many economists are actually predicting a sharp economic decline ahead, and that cost-cutting method that we have to think about is one where we are trying to keep people employed, let them have health benefits, let them continue to do their work. And while that may have to change over time, I will say that what we're trying to do is start with a stable school year and not make it where we're adding more to the economic challenges and problems of our community. There was a memo that was distributed last week by State School Superintendent Richard Woods to all Georgia school districts. We got it. And it said that we need to start anticipating a 14% reduction in QBE. That's the quality basic education allotment. And they were speaking of fiscal year 21, which means school year 2021. And the impact of COVID-19 is going to be real on the state's economy. So those numbers could change, but right now it translates into us planning for a reduction of about $60 million. That's $60 million. Now, as we explained, we're looking to close that gap by doing a couple of things, and we're starting with non-personnel first. We'll freeze spending in the current year to free up funds to carry over to next year. We'll postpone 6 through 12 English language arts textbook adoption. We'll sweep all school-based reserves. We're going to reduce central office non-personnel, and assuming lapsed salaries and reclassifying any eligible expenses to the CARE Act funds. Now, all of that is just the beginning. I will be talking to staff again this week. I'll be doing an all-staff budget meeting. It'll be virtual. We know how to do these internally, but we'll be coming back to the board with notices about how we may be able to continue forward. I know that's a lot, but it wasn't something we were anticipating about 10%, and we felt pretty good about getting to $46 million while swallowing hard. but that Friday memo was a showstopper. So everyone's working hard. And if you have any ideas about what you think we should think about, please feel free to reach out to Lisa Bracken or me directly. You can go to Let's Talk platform, and we're happy to listen to any ideas you may have. Now, highlights on the legislative session today. The 2020 session for the Georgia General Assembly is the most unusual one I've seen in my career, but certainly I think this one's going to go down in history. It's impacted every aspect of society, including the legislature. So they have suspended its session in mid-March. That's already happened, but and it's not really definite when they're going to come back. They're saying that the likely date for Legislative Day 30 is going to be June 11th. So if you remember what I said about budget and kind of like connecting all these dots, we will have already talked to the board about potential tentative adoption strategy. And so a lot of these things may have to be shifted based on what happens in the legislature. But the Constitution of the state of Georgia only requires the General Assembly to complete one task, just one, even though you might believe it's a bunch of stuff given what you've seen in past years, is just an annual passage of the balanced budget. And when they convene, the fiscal year 2021 budget will probably be the primary focus of the governor, state agencies, Senate, House. You've heard about our tentative budget adoption strategy, plus what we're looking at to make that $60 million reduction. And of course, our legislative team is playing a critical role at the Capitol as we gather and garner lots of details and information throughout this process. Now, there have been very few bills to take to the governor for a signature, actually, so far this session. He did sign a law that might be of interest to our school community. He signed a law last week that changes the dual enrollment program, and that was designed to make the program more financially sustainable for the state. But it does have shortcomings as far as we see it from the district level as it relates to having more students have access to it. But local legislation that would stagger elections for board members passed the House and crossed over to the Senate, but it is awaiting passage by the Senate. I also wanted to be sure that people knew where we were with SPLOST and our construction. So if you remember when I talked about the general fund budget and the $60 million, let's talk a little bit about SPLOST. One penny sales tax that helps us do bricks and mortar construction and renovation, technology, school buses across the district. That, as you can imagine, is just getting obliterated. No one is spending money. So you're not collecting that sales tax. There are no conventions, there are no fancy events, there's no a tourist tax because no one's traveling. So that is getting reduced very fast. But don't panic, because we are focused on trying to finish the projects we have right now. And I just want to say, part of the reason why we are going to be making some other recommendations as we look to the next round of projects related to SPLOST is because we listened in on a webinar that was focused on COVID-19 that impacts the metro area. And basically the sales tax were down, unemployment rates were up. They were just saying that everything is projected is going to get worse. So we're going to work hard to stay on track with projects at Howard, Grady, Morningside. Those are still underway. And we had other projects that were already being completely wrapped up. But I know I got a lot of questions about the ones that everybody can drive around and see that they're under major construction. We're patching, finishing walls and painting classrooms and common spaces around Howard. All the window installation on the south side is underway. The new mechanical and electrical systems are being completed. Plumbing fixtures, light fixtures, all that stuff is going down in place. And we also see where there is landscape and hardscape beginning. So it is our expectation that the project will be completed in July of 2020. Grady, the site work, tree removal, grading, utilities underway. interior demolition of the existing building. It's in full preparation for its renovation work, and we are still on target for July 2021. Morningside, we're still doing the needs assessment. The meetings are happening to discuss all the instructional needs. The draft of the design narrative and schedule for the first project is underway, and its proposed project start is winter of 2021. So again, our fingers and toes are crossed on all of those things, but I just wanted to be sure that people knew we were on top of it. We're following everything. We're talking to everyone. We're making sure that that stays on track. All right. We also have 2 projects that were in the hopper, and we'll be talking to the board about those projects. I'm hoping that we'll bring at least 2 more schools online by June action, but I can't say what that will be exactly until I finish having a chance to talk to all the teams and make sure that we're not over promising and under delivering, or starting a project that then has to stall and sit for a long time and kids be shuffled around the district in temporary sites unnecessarily. So we'll come back to those next month. Media Specialist of the Year, Shanna Miles from South Atlanta School. We're so excited to recognize you. She brings a varied career to her work, as she actually got her first degree in journalism from the University of South Carolina and began working in pharmaceutical marketing. Thankfully for APS and the children of South Atlanta, she changed gears and earned a master's in library media from Georgia State University. A lifelong book lover, she began her career as a media specialist at Tech High School and then transitioned to South Atlanta High School in 2011. Since then, she's secured more than $80,000 in grants, served as a member of the Georgia Peach Book Award for Teen Readers Committee, and presented at the Summer Institute for the Georgia Library Association and at the National Convention for American Library Association. And get this, she's a writer herself. She's written books for young adults, and her first novel, For All We Know, will be released by Simon & Schuster this fall in 2020. So please join me in recognizing Shanna Miles of South Atlanta High School as the Media Specialist of the Year for Atlanta Public Schools. Woohoo! Thumbs up, everybody. Say congratulations. Georgia Teacher of the Year, Tracy Penley. Now, it's disappointing news for the state, but it's great news for APS. Due to the uncertainty around COVID-19, the Georgia Department of Education decided to suspend the 2021 Teacher of the Year program. That means that the reigning Georgia Teacher of the Year, our own Tracy Penley of Burgess Peterson Academy, will have her tenure extended through 2021. Keeping Tracy on board in the role will allow her to continue to represent the state in Teacher of the Year engagements when it's safe to do so. But I think that she's been one of the most engaging, spirited Teachers of the Year that the state has seen in years. Congratulations, Tracy and David White and the whole team over at Burgess Peterson. We're very excited about that. But I also want to note that APS is just going to follow the state's lead in this, extending the tenures of our own Excellence in Teaching Award winners. So Chrissy Davis of Grady will serve an additional year as a district-wide winner, while Amanda Larkin of Sarah Smith Elementary and Camila Rose Pedway of King Middle will serve as the elementary and middle school winners as well. So congratulations to them too. And while we're on the subject of teachers, yes, indeedy, it is the start of National Teacher Appreciation Week. Our beloved APS teachers who took on the challenge of virtual learning amid COVID-19 deserve recognition now more than ever. As always, we do things a little differently in APS. So we actually started celebrating them on Saturday with our second annual APS Rocks and Runs, a 5K and a fun run event that serves as a benefit for our teachers. Rocks and Runs continues through May 14th because it's a virtual run this year due to COVID-19. So there's plenty of time to complete the race and to share your progress with hashtag APS Rocks and Runs. The t-shirts are in, we're waiting for the bibs, but as soon as we get those, we're shipping all of that out at once for everyone who signed up. But when you get your t-shirts and your bibs, please take pictures, put it on social media. We also created a tribute video. You can see that at my blog at atlsuper.com. It highlights all the great work our teachers are doing, sharing on social media. They keep sharing their lessons in their classrooms, but also their personalities. And so they've been a lot of fun. We tried to create like a very fun activity week to celebrate our teachers. We got some virtual yoga on Tuesday, May 5th, a comedy show that's going to be hosted by comedian and educator Cornelius George on Wednesday, May 6th. There's a virtual party with B103 DJ Greg Street on Friday the 8th, and everybody's still going to be running as well. So it's going to be a great week of fun. Virtually, yeah, it's a little lame, but we tried to make it fun for y'all. And speaking of virtually, we have to remind everyone that Graduation Nation 2020 is officially going to be very different for the students, but they are hashtag worth the wait. It is officially on. We are going to celebrate the class of 2020 in a big way. With respect to social gathering restrictions in Georgia, we are planning to hold virtual celebrations for the class of 2020 in May, delaying traditional ceremonies until the summer or later if needed. And it will have to adhere to the Georgia Department of Health guidance. The district reached this decision based on input from graduating seniors across all 14 high schools that significantly favored a traditional ceremony and the fact that they themselves originated the hashtag worth the wait. As part of the proposal, we will conduct virtual celebrations during the regular graduation season between May 18th and the 21st, and we'll plan for that traditional program for each school when the State Department and health guidelines allow. We will work with our schools to help our families get creative at home for their virtual celebrations, and we hope to deliver those diplomas in a safe manner over the next month. So we know that while the traditional ceremonies are happening, for the traditional ceremonies, APS will be considering dates as late as July using Lakewood and Grady stadiums as possible venues. If those ceremonies are further delayed, then you'll be talking about ticketed ceremonies probably again, but in other spaces, and that would take you into Thanksgiving, maybe even winter break. I know that is not popular, so please, I got all those messages. You don't have to send them again. We know, but we also have to protect you and keep you safe. So it's all about safety. So whatever we do later, it will take place only if state health officials deem it to be safe. And, and perhaps as a school district, there might be some limitations to what we do if the actual environment limits our ability to do a full-on open ceremony. So in that spirit, again, we'll be celebrating our valedictorians, our salutatorians, our STAR students with a virtual breakfast ceremony on Thursday, May 7th. Whew. Okay, so that's a lot. The chair spoke about the board's recognition ceremony, which we will continue to do, but also virtually as well. And while we know this isn't ideal, just know that we do still love you, and we're trying to make it fun and exciting and memorable as much as we can. So apologies to the class of 2020. It is a real stinker, but just know that we will do everything we can so that you have all of the things that you need. We've been doing the drive-by pickups, the safe handoffs. Just please keep coming to your schools on the dates we talked about when we did the Instagram meeting and all the things that we put on our website. Please follow those directions and you'll have all the things that you were hoping to have for your graduation, but you can use that in your virtual celebration and then later when we have the formal graduation. So again, apologies on behalf of Virus, but on behalf of Atlanta Public Schools, we love you, we will miss you, but we are working hard so that you have a great graduation season. Mr. Chair, that concludes my remarks for this evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Starpin. If we could take a pause to ensure that board members are connected to board docs. So, Ms. Murray, if you give me the go.
Okay, I just refreshed. Ready when you are.
so Dr. Gustafson, could you please present the consent agenda? And also, I should note, for those watching from home, you can always go to our board docs website to see how board members are voting. We will call the vote counts after each vote, but if you'd like to check out who voted for what and what the agenda items are, please visit board docs, and those are updated as soon as the voting is closed. Dr. Starpin?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Before I submit the consent agenda items, I wanted to direct your attention to a couple of things. Don't forget that I know we didn't have the meeting, so now we're having the meeting. We're in 5.02. We're bringing back the revisions to the school calendar. So we've come up with another option where Thursday, August 5th would be the first day of school, and Thursday, May 26th would be the last day. Now remember, this is not for this school year. This is school year 2021-22. October and February, we'll have those short breaks for students and teachers. The calendar also includes a week off in November for Thanksgiving, 2 weeks off for winter break, and a spring break during the first full week of April. So that's that recommendation. Again, not this school year, the next school year. I also wanted to direct the board to, or the community and board to item 7.11 about the increase of the funds to our food service provider. I just wanted to remind everyone that this is tied to a lot of different things. It's a mixture. As you can imagine, there's some COVID-19 expenses that makes up some of these dollars. Also, this school year, our meal participation increased. It went up to 68%, which was almost 2,000 additional meals per day. And so that's where the bulk of the money is coming from. That's about $1.5 million that we have to address during this school year. And then again, we're trying to set aside resources, and this will be reimbursable. But if at all possible, and we can figure out how to be part of an ongoing community solution around food distribution to make sure our kids are covered, or we're partnering with people who can ensure that our community, our school community is covered in all the food efforts. We're setting aside a few $100,000 to ensure that if that's doable, workable on some level, and is and is allowed to be refundable, the district to the state / federal government, we are going to try to do that. And of course, if we can't do that, then we would never use that money. But we're just getting the authority up to about $2.1 million. But like I said, the bulk of those dollars is definitely going to children we've already served during this school year due to the meal participation increases. Mr. Chair, members of the board, please, I'm pleased to submit consent agenda items 5.01 through 8.03 for board approval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last time. And if folks can mute their phones or mute their devices, that'd be greatly appreciated. Like last time during the work session, if you have a question or anything, please raise your hand. In the meantime, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda items 5.01 through 8.03?
So moved by Cynthia.
Second by Ishay.
Properly moved by Cynthia Briscoe Brown, seconded by Ishay Collins. Is there discussion? I see Leslie with her hand up.
Yep. I appreciate the entry level conversation around the food service contract extension. But I do think it's very important to understand more about this. And if this was the estimates for this contract seem to be shot. Was the excess participation due to the COVID? Were there more students who were served because of this? I would like more explanation about that. And I did request that earlier. And I think going forward, and again, something else to, a sticky to put on the wall is just making certain that in these consent agendas, there is more understanding from specifically board member before we approve these, but mostly so that these things are transparent and so that the public can understand a little bit more about what is being spent on these. So not as a TBD item. I don't need too much more insight about it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Christopherson, do you want to have a comment or anything related to that?
Yes, I mean, sure, we can, that we're not changing the contract for the future. You did have real-time additional participation. Again, we said we wanted to expand participation for all children in Atlanta Public Schools. We participated in that with a state effort that no one has raised concerns about. If anything, it was heralded as a positive effort to get more food to more kids in APS. Some of it is due to COVID-19, which we talked about. That's not our fault. That's not the food vendors' responsibility either. And different board members have sent me various questions. Hold on. And I was pretty certain we responded to everything. But if someone had an additional question, I did not get it. And so I will ask Erica while we are on this and you're listening, can you please confirm that every response was sent, because I thought we answered those, because I know I answered, there are other board members who had questions and we answered those for them. But I don't think anyone, we said we wanted to expand our food program. We did do that. We have to pay for that food and work to be, reimbursed where appropriate. And if we do, and I've seen board members write in and want to see APS try to participate even in the summer in food programming. And while we don't have additional money or dollars, on the table from any new funding there, we are trying to be a good partner and ensure that we team up where we can. So, so for what it's worth, we were doing our part. Everybody knew we were doing our part. And I feel like this reflects everything we've actually talked about. And with the exception of COVID-19, no one expected that. And I don't think it's, I don't think we ever wanted to have to provide, and I think it changed 4 times. You provide for kids in your district, in your communities, to any kid under the age of 18, to now any family that came without kids. And now it's basically anybody who walks up. So, so we run out of food sometimes on routes and sometimes we don't, but we are trying to ensure that that we have a strong food program for people in need. And it was my understanding that we did that. And I did receive whatever that question was. We responded to the question that we received from board member Grant on May 1st at 5:54 p.m. And if there was a follow-up question to that, we did not receive it. And I know that Aretta Baldwin had questions and we responded to hers initially, and even additional ones that she either was sending this weekend or this morning. I've responded to all of them.
Okay, I think we can go to the next 2. Cynthia, then Nancy.
Yeah, I just want to clarify because I believe you said 8 items through 8.03. The current agenda doesn't go any farther than 8.01.
Thank you. Sorry, it was the odd number. I was trying to find my thing on the paper. I should have looked at the agenda. It is 8.01. Apologies.
And so I will amend my motion to reflect the correct item numbers. And let's say those one more time, just so we all know what they are.
Yes, ma'am. It was a motion to approve consent agenda items 8.01 through 8. Oh my gosh. A consent for approval of items 5.01 through 8.01.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy?
I just wanted to publicly thank you, Maria, and your team for your commitment through this whole time, number one, and also that participating on one-on-ones really clarifies a lot of stuff. So that is very important moving forward if you have questions or concerns. But just wanted to thank you. You've been out there in front, like I know I haven't. I've been doing things, but not like you have or your team has. And this city should be just so happy to have someone that has done that. And I appreciate it.
It's been a team effort, to say the least. A lot of people getting super creative. So thanks. I appreciate you recognizing that.
Anyone else? All right. If you can open the vote.
The vote is open. Board Member Meister?
You know, I keep clicking it, yay, and it's not taking it. So,
Okay,
no.
I can go ahead and click that for you.
Okay, thank you.
The vote is closed. Motion passed, 8-1. Is it displayed?
Thank you. That 9.01 is the monthly budget adjustment. I will ask for a motion to approve agenda item 9.01.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved by Ishay Collins, seconded by Cynthia Briscoe Brown. Is there discussion? Going once. Going twice. Okay, please open the vote.
The vote is open. Board Member Meister, is it yay?
I'm a yay, and it's just not.
Okay. The vote is closed. Motion passed, 8-1.
Thank you. 9.02, that's the renaming of renaming committee recommendation to rename the Walter L. Park Middle School building to the Atlanta College and Career Academy at Dr. Michael S. Mays campus. That committee was chaired by Vice Chair Ishay Collins, and meetings were held. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved by Ishay Collins, seconded by Cynthia Briscoe Brown. Ishay, do you want to say anything?
Yes, just wanted to thank the committee for taking the time. We've met several times in the community and engaging in this process. It definitely was open dialogue and debatable on both ends on capturing the legacy of Dr. Mays and also recognizing the great contributions of Walter L. Parks, who it was an actual resident and a business owner that started a loan company for residences in the Pittsburgh community. So just wanted to personally thank Councilman Shepherd, Joyce Shepherd, Jamar Jeffers, Johnny Floyd, Stephanie Flowers, Nally Kaiser, Dr. Tashara Wilson, the principal of the Atlanta College and Career Academy, and everyone else that Dr. Dan Sims and everyone that really engaged in this process with us, and truly appreciate everyone's feedback. And it is my hope, and it is our hope, the committee's hope, that the community, the entire Atlanta community, and our students will embrace the College and Career Academy to honor Dr. Michael Mays.
Thank you, Isha. Anyone else with comment, questions? Going once, going twice. All right, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
I'm a yay. I don't know. Oh, there it went. No.
No, that was me.
Oh, got all excited.
Board Member Baldwin. Thank you. The vote is closed. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we'll have a report out from executive session. Madam General Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, in the matter of Nancy Aragbaye, I request a motion that the Atlanta Board of Education accept the tribunal's findings of fact and recommendations dated February 27th, 2020 to terminate the employment of Ms. Aragbaye.
So moved.
Properly moved by Cynthia Briscoe Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Leslie Grant. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Yep.
The vote is closed. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. And one more, in the matter of Maurice Williams, I request a motion that the Atlanta Board of Education accept the hearing officer's findings of fact and recommendations dated February 18th, 2020 to terminate the employment of Mr. Williams.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Sorry, I'm mute.
So moved by Cynthia Briscoe Brown, seconded by Isha Collins. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Got me, Sandra?
Yes. Board Member Wood Jackson.
Yeah, I'm a yay as well.
Okay. The vote is closed. Motion passed unanimously.
Okay. We will take up board resolutions 11.01, which is a resolution to the appointment to approve appointments to the Atlanta Educational Services, Inc. Board of Directors. Can I get a motion?
So moved. This is Candace.
Second.
Properly moved by Candace Wood Jackson, seconded by Cynthia Briscoe Brown. Any discussion? Leslie?
Yep, sorry. Do you want to can you give just a
Yeah.
tiny bit just for the public about what this board is and what it does?
Right.
just to read it out loud. Yeah, not to read the entire thing out loud, but just give a little input on this.
Sure, Dr. Starpin, do you want to talk about AES? Hello?
Okay, I can't hear you, Jason, but I can see your mouth moving.
Yeah, I asked you to just give a brief overview about the Atlanta Educational Services, Inc. There was a question just to help the public understand what AES is.
Right. If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to ask Nina Gupta. She did the research on this for us and did the legal work. Nina, could you please explain the details behind this?
Sure. This is related to APS's licensing rights and ownership of the airwaves that broadcast WABE. AES is the nonprofit corporation that's set up that is the technical licensee of those wavelengths of radio streaming services. And it doesn't have any employees, it doesn't have a budget or anything like that, but it's got to be formed for the purposes of controlling that license.
And that as a board is that organization is dictated by us through a partnership, and everyone knows the rest. Cynthia Briscoe Brown is on the board for PBA. Public Broadcasting Atlanta. Did I get that right, Cynthia?
It actually, the official name is AETC, which stands for the Atlanta Educational Telecommunications Cooperative. PBA is the call letters of the television station, WABE, and the ABE stands for Atlanta Board of Education, is the radio station. The AETC manages both licenses and both stations on behalf of Atlanta Educational Services, Inc., which is actually us. All of this is a legal fiction. It's necessary legally because of FCC regulations and also the way the stations were originally constituted back several decades ago. I did have one question for Nina, and that is the resolution references the Source for Learning, Inc. Does that corporation still exist? And if so, what does it do? Because that's the only piece of this I'm actually not familiar with.
My understanding, and you are correct, there are very convoluted FCC regulations that require lots of legal fictions to operate. But yes, the Source for Learning still exists, technically on paper. They don't do much. It is another legal fiction for the purposes of allowing WABE and AETC to handle our broadband and our licensing services.
Okay, I'd say that was the one piece I didn't know, but the rest of it is because of the way the FCC requires us to hold those licenses and the result of a settlement of some litigation many years ago, which set up this structure.
Great. Thank you.
And the three appointees to this are our CFO, Director of IT, and Communications, correct?
Yes, a communications rep.
Okay, thank you. I just appreciate the clarity. Thank you.
All right, open the vote.
Vote is open.
I'm a yay. This is Candace Wood Jackson.
Board Member Meister, yay?
Yes.
Okay, the vote is closed. Motion passed unanimously.
Okay. 11.02, resolution in support of National School Library Month. Can I get a motion? Is
So moved.
there a second? Cynthia
Second.
Briscoe. Second, I think. Ishay Collins. Cynthia Briscoe Brown, seconded. Is there discussion?
Yes, I seconded. I just couldn't find the button.
Okay,
All right. All in favor, or actually, sorry, open.
the vote is open.
This is Candace. I'm a yay.
Okay,
Yay.
the vote is closed. Motion passed unanimously.
Great. 11.03, resolution in support of National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Properly moved by Ishay Collins. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Retta Baldwin. Any discussion? Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
I'm a yay.
Okay, the vote is closed. Motion passed unanimously.
11.04, a resolution in support of National School Nurses Day. Can I get a motion to
So moved.
Second.
motion to approve by Ishay Collins, seconded by Cynthia Briscoe Brown? Any discussion? Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
I'm a yay.
The vote is closed. Motion passed unanimously.
11.05, resolution in support of National Teacher Appreciation Week. Can I get a
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
So moved.
So moved by Cynthia Briscoe Brown, seconded by Ishay Collins.
Third.
Any discussion?
Thank you for everything you guys are doing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Order, order, order in this house.
And I'm sorry, sir, the vote is open.
I'm a yay, and thank you.
Okay.
Hmm.
The vote is closed. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. 11.06, a resolution that was modeled after the Council of Great City Schools, of which Leslie Grant is an executive board member of. It's a resolution called Congress to provide more funding for public school systems in the next coronavirus relief bill. As you saw or heard earlier, both from Lisa Bracken and what Maria summarized, additional funding would be incredibly helpful in this crisis for local school systems. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved by Ishay Collins. I'm not sure who that second was.
Nancy.
Nancy Meister. Any comments, questions? Please open.
The vote is open.
Yay.
The vote is closed. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to report out. Are there any committees that would like to report out? Leslie?
I know we all want to go home. Well, we are home. We all want to get off this call. I did want to report out the audit committee met. I think it was in March was the last meeting we had. And there was a long-term audit given about our athletics department. It is not currently up on the website yet. They're finishing a couple things on it, but I will be posting as soon as we get the final copy on Facebook page at least, and we'll make sure we do get it up on the website. But for those who are not familiar already or who have not been paying attention too much, I think the I know Connie Brown, who is the head of internal compliance, will be reporting out in June, but I just want to make sure that people are aware of the purpose of the audit committee and the role of internal compliance. And if anybody ever has any questions about this, please do feel free to reach out directly to me or to Connie Brown. It is a very critical role, and I appreciate everyone who's participated in these. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Dr. Sarpin?
Sorry, it's not about conferences and stuff. I was waiting to the end. I'm sorry. It's hard to, I just wanted to give you a heads up. I wanted to say something.
Okay. All right. Dr. Sarpin?
Thanks. I just, in the spirit of there not being a May meeting, I just wanted to thank David Jernigan, the Deputy Superintendent, who's been with the district since we started as a new administration some 6 years ago. And I know that, you know, there's a lot going on and everybody moves on from things, but I just wanted to say thank you so much, David, for believing in APS, for coming into the district. I know I saw a lot of your heart and your hard work, and you built a great team with me and was just awesome. I just can't be thankful enough. And I just appreciate everything that you've done to support the district and our tenure together. So I just wanted to shout out to him and congratulate him on his new position as president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club for Metro Atlanta. They're so fortunate to get him, and I would have just been remiss if I didn't say something formally. And I hope that that, you know, at some point when things settle down, we have an opportunity to bring him back and thank him for his amazing work when, you know, don't have to do it virtually. But thank you, David Jernigan, and I'll miss you.
We were supposed to, as a board, recognize him last month, and we were not able to do that.
That was my thing I wanted to say, because that was going to be my board recognition, and unfortunately I wasn't able to do it, which really saddens me. But hopefully we can do it in the future, and want to give him a huge send off, as Maria said. But he's pretty awesome. So
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great, I think that's great idea to really revisit doing that. I mean, the whole team, Maria, David with Deputy, have just done a really great job, and just knowing him for years when we were teachers, and sending fifth graders when he explored this idea, and then to have him join us and help lead the transformational work we've done over the years. He will be greatly missed. And but I'm rooting for and cheering for him at the Boys and Girls Club, because I know he is going to do amazing things there as well.
Well, plenty of opportunity for continued partnership there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So look forward to continuing to work for Atlanta's kids. Work with him for Atlanta's kids. Speaking of kids, I also wanted to shout out our very own Pierre Gaither, who had baby boy last month. He and his wife are fine. His wife is fine. The baby's fine, and we wish them well as they embark on child number 2.
Congratulations, Pierre.
Congrats, Pierre. And for those wondering, he's working very, very hard on behalf of Atlanta Public Schools, but he will be taking time for that baby and his wife just in July. He'd rather do it then, and we respect that. So until then, we're going to be working on it. So Pierre, thank you so much for all your help and all that you do, particularly in this time of great celebration, but also, lots of work as a new dad and father of an older child as well. So congrats, Pierre. Anyone have anything else? I see Leslie.
Sorry, we skipped over the report out from conferences, and I know that there have been no physical conferences, but the Council of Great City Schools has been hosting Friday meetups on Zoom with member districts, and it's been extremely helpful, I think, just to hear what people are doing throughout the country. And they are going to be working on, putting together some best practices in places. So if anybody is interested in any outreach from that or finding out more about that, please get in touch. Thanks.
Yeah, and I've joined a couple of those calls as well. Very interesting, very helpful to know what other districts are doing, particularly as far as board meetings go. So it was helpful to listen in on what other districts were doing and use some of those practices here. All right, anything else for the good of the order? All right, the first official monthly board meeting, the Atlanta Board of Education, done via Zoom, will be adjourned upon vote. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Collins, seconded by Cynthia Brown. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. For some reason, I'm more tired now than I am during a regular. I hope all of you get a great night's rest and be well. Good night.
Good to see everybody. Be well. Be safe.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Pierre.
Make me the host.
Hold on. There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll call you.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.